Hey guys, welcome back to the ZL podcast. As always, I am Jackson.
I'm Avery.
And I'm Ellie.
And today we got an exciting one for you. Today our episode is called Pictures of Purpose. We're going to kind of be diving into a few different historical characters and kind of what their journey of discovering their purpose looked like. For my specific book, for my character, I read a novel titled The Trial and Death of Socrates. This is about the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates and how he came to discover his purpose.
Yeah, in my book, I read Nike's Shoe Dog about Philip Knight and how he discovered his purpose through his passion for shoes and his passion for risking it all.
And I read The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank, which is about a young girl, about 13 years old, living through the time when Nazis were taking over Germany and oppressing Jews, and she learned how to use her voice through writing.
And so hopefully what we get out of this is we're going to find some various different connections between these people who lived in very different eras, and yet they still probably found their purposes in similar ways. And so we hope that's something that you guys will get out of this, is hearing how these purposes connect and how you might be able to find your own purpose as well. And so who wants to start?
Oh, I'd love to get us started. So my guy, Phil Knight, the creator of Nike, he kind of started out just realizing that he didn't want to live a dead-end job life. He did not want to work the 9-to-5. He didn't want to be an accountant. So he went in and launched his own business, Nike, which started out as Blue Ribbon. Throughout this, he faced a lot of trials and tribulations, debt. Nike basically lived paycheck to paycheck most of the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were very financially fragile the whole time.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, and then balancing like the pursuit of Nike with the relationships with his family and his own well-being was really difficult for him. But really, he just dealt with a lot of different problems going through this whole business venture that he had. So I wrote a purpose statement for him was to build something worth believing in so that my life could be more than about profit, but about striving, risking, and leaving a mark. I would say a big example that kind of showcases this is that at one point he faced bankruptcy, owed large sums of money, and then chose to take on even more debt to invest in the company's growth rather than giving up. It just showed that he cared so much about, the future of his company, and that he really believed in it. And I think that's a really important value that he had and held on to.
Yeah, that's awesome, too. I really respect the kind of lack of profit motive, because you wouldn't really guess that out of a company today that's worth, $100 million trillion essentially.
Yeah.
And you're telling me it started off living paycheck to paycheck until relatively recently?
Yeah, until about the 80s.
Yeah, that's crazy, because Nike's a massive conglomerate. And so that's awesome to hear that his purpose was defined by what he was actually passionate about, and not just to make a super mega corporation like Nike.
Exactly.
It also ties in a little bit to my guy, Socrates. He grew up in kind of the culture of Athens back then at the time was everything was about rhetoric and argument. You're familiar with classical Greece and how that was the birthplace of a lot of philosophy.
Yeah.
And that's the context in which he grew up in. And so he kind of dedicated a lot of his life to seeking truth out from others and from himself through those sorts of difficult and intentional conversations. I'm sure y'all are familiar with the Socratic method, where you kind of ask pointed questions to get at the real heart of an issue. And that's something that he kind of invented, because in these arguments and debates, he would lead with so many questions, not because he wanted to undermine someone else, but because he genuinely had a curiosity and he wanted to understand them. And one of the coolest parts of the book that I read that kind of showed his purpose in action of seeking this truth is when he went and visited the Oracle of Delphi, who gave him some divine religious advice saying, or not advice, but just a statement that Socrates, there are none wiser than you. And Socrates, as a humble, regular dude, is thinking, there's plenty of people I know who are wiser than me. There's this politician, this craftsman, this poet. And so what he did to make sense with this was he went out to all these people and he had conversations with them and told them what the Oracle had told him. And all these people were to respond and say, you know what, you're right, I am wiser than you, being a little bit self-centered, honestly. And when Socrates dug into this more with his Socratic method, he kind of realized, wait, these people are not all they're cracked up to be. They say they know so much, they say they're so wise, but I'm asking them questions they can't answer. And so he realized that true wisdom is based in the understanding that you don't know everything. And that's what I think the Oracle was getting at, even if they didn't know it, is that Socrates understood his wisdom stemmed from the fact that he understood that he didn't have all the answers. And so that ties back to the purpose statement I wrote for him, which is to question assumptions and spread the truth so that others may live more justly and care for their souls above all else, because that's why he did what he did.
Wow.
Gotcha. Wow. Yeah, I love how Socrates goes about all of that. I love his approach to not only seek knowledge, or seek the truth, not only knowledge, but also to share it. And I feel like that ties in so well with Anne Frank's story.
Oh, yeah, tell us about it.
Her story is a lot shorter than Phil's or Socrates, but yeah, unfortunately, but nonetheless, she made the most of her time for sure. She was born right around when Nazis came to power in Germany. Her family's moved a couple times, and soon enough, while she was still in middle school, they had to go into hiding in an annex, and so they were holed up together. Very, very stifling, not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, all the factors. And so pretty early on in her childhood, I say her childhood, her whole life, she was very confined. Like I said, not only physically, but in the social aspects as well. And so just with that context, with her being holed up inside that annex and, you know, just kind of feeling very constricted with her family, kind of being pushed to the side because she's the youngest. Through all of this, she showed a lot of resilience to keep her voice, because it was very easy for her to be shut out, whether it was through her family, through oppression, through segregation, all of the matters, even through death, really. She managed to keep her voice through writing. And one of the moments that really made this stand out to me, one of the quotes that she wrote in her diary, was that she said, "I hope I shall be able to confide in you as I've never been able to confide in anyone, and I hope you will be a great source of comfort and support to me." And so this is pretty soon after she got this as a gift for her birthday, and that shows a very early determination that she is going to keep her voice and remain loud while also remaining quiet in an annex at the same time. Yes, exactly. And so just with those ideas, the purpose statement that I kind of came up for her was that she would speak with her pen when she cannot with her voice, so that those who mistreat others will never silence her, and that those who have been silenced find their voice and hope.
Oh, I really like that, because it makes a lot of poetic sense, where she's cramped up, you know, the circumstances of the time are horrible in terms of, you know, having the freedom to do what you want. Her one place she can turn to in this crowded annex with, you know, 7 other people is her diary. That's like the only thing she can call her own. And it's like the only place that she can express herself in. So that's a really cool, like, tie-in that you found with that.
Yeah. And kind of a common theme I'm seeing between all of our characters or figures, is that they all have a lot of resilience, you know.
Yes, for sure.
Nike, you know, that whole system, he had to have a lot of resilience in continuing forward. And Frank obviously had to have a lot of resilience staying in that annex. Socrates as well, you know, questioning all those people all the time. He had to be a big risk taker. He always had to ask questions.
Right. It's funny you mentioned that too, because something I didn't even touch on yet is the premise of the book is Socrates is on trial. It's a description of his trial and then eventual execution, because the people I guess I should have probably led with that, but it's told with a bunch of different stories, and he's essentially, it's a transcript from the courtroom. Well, I say transcript, some of it is loose, you know, it's an old book, but essentially it comes down to, he was so principled and resilient in his principles that when they asked him to renounce his philosophy to get off the hook, he said, "No, I'm not going to do that. Like, my purpose is to seek truth." And because of that, the court found him guilty and they killed him.
Wow.
And even when they were killing him, he said, "I accept this, you know, this is what was meant for me. My soul has been prepared by my purpose and what I've done on earth already. And so I know I'm ready for whatever comes next."
Wow. Yeah. That just shows how passionate he was about his own purpose. And I think that's something that also resonates with Philip Knight from Nike. Like, he was so passionate about, you know, his shoe business. I know it's on a very different level, but I feel like, honestly, he would have died for Nike. You know? He would have fallen on that
Run
sword
himself into the grave.
Just as well. He was crazy and just in love with the idea of building something bigger than himself. He loved shoes. He loved running. And, you know, that's just, I think, a common leadership trait that goes forward in all of these people, is that they're very passionate about thriving.
Exactly. And just not giving up,
which
is, I thought, was really cool.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I'm kind of also tying like a general leadership lesson as well that we can kind of draw from these, maybe that we could apply to ourselves, future leaders, however you want to look at it. But I would also argue that all of these stories, all of these paths had to do with a lot of creativity. I mean, with Phil, just the idea of something as simple as a shoe and turning that into such a successful business. All because of his motivation, his intrinsic motivation and desire to do that. With Socrates, his creativity to seek truth in a new way, you know,
Exactly.
getting from point A to point B, but in a different way than anyone had ever seen before.
And with Anne Frank, of course, she's journaling every single day. She's basically in ZLP. That's like all we do, essentially. So she's expressing herself creatively.
She's the original
Put her-
cohort.
Literally,
Put her
cohort
in the
zero,
cohort.
cohort alpha. And essentially what she's doing, this is like the only creative outlet she has because she's with all those people and there's, you know, she can't be loud. She can't express herself normally. She can't sing or dance because, you know, they have to be quiet. And so all she really has is this journal and her thoughts that she can pin to paper. And I just really like that quote that you pulled out of it because it really kind of encapsulates her whole story and her purpose, to me at least.
Yeah.
I agree, yeah.
So with all those great similarities in mind, what are some different contrasts between our people, y'all think?
Yeah, so I kind of noticed that they all grew up and, you know, thrived in different cultures. They're all in completely different places.
That is
like,
true.
Athens is like super freedom thinking, very individualized. Obviously, Nazi Germany is the complete opposite of that.
Right.
And then America right then was very much about, like, the underdog and...
Yeah, and Philip was definitely an underdog.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, but they all kind of got to the same conclusion from coming from such, like, diverse backgrounds, different time periods, different cultures, different, political situations. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool, too, thinking about the time period difference, too. My guy, Socrates, he was about 2,000, 2,500 years
Yeah.
before both of y'all, and yet there's still so many similarities there where, you know, Socrates, he died for his purpose. Anne Frank, she died for hers. Philip, he didn't die, but, you know, he almost went bankrupt
Yeah,
for
he
his
also,
purpose.
same thing, you know.
Right,
yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, died financially, almost
Right.
died financially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool that despite all these different, you know, time periods, cultures, and locations, all these people are united by finding their purpose through what they're passionate about. And
Yeah.
what's interesting is it's thinking about my own leadership and, you know, what this discussion has led me to find out about my purpose is that it sounds like I just have to find something that I am passionate about and kind of forget about everything else. Forget about, you know, needing to make a profit motive out of it.
Right.
Forget about, you know, the fear of, oh, what might happen if I pursue this purpose. Just like Socrates forgot about his fear and Frank forgot about hers.
Right.
And that's just, I guess that's where, you know, your true purpose will lie. It's just in the passion. Forget everything else.
Yeah, finding that passion and then being resilient and sticking to it, I think is just a really important key takeaway from all of these figures is being resilient and sticking to your passions.
Yeah, in terms of their greatest similarity, it's probably resilience.
I would agree.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. If I had only one additional thing to tack onto there, I would talk about a little bit about just intrinsic motivation. I mean, I know in the story that I read about Anne Frank, she had moments where she was alone all the time. And I'm sure with Phil, I mean, it's lonely at the top, so I'm sure I'm sure he has those lonely moments as well. And then Socrates, just all of these people pursuing something because of that passion, like you said, because they care about it, can become lonely sometimes. And so it really requires drawing from that intrinsic motivation that lies there.
And that ties really heavily into resilience too. That's probably where their resilience stemmed from, was their intrinsic motivation.
Yep.
All right. Well, this has been our episode of the ZL podcast, Pictures of Purpose. I think we learned a lot here, guys. I really enjoyed speaking with y'all. Tune in next week where we will talk about creativity some more. How's that sound?
Yeah. Bye,
Great
guys.
with
All
me.
right.
Bye.
Bye guys.